Perfect.
What is your name?
My name is Gustavo Gutierrez Gomez.
Excellent. Where do you live, and have you always lived here?
I live in Pasco, Washington, and no, I have not always lived here.
Where have you lived in your life?
I have lived many places. I live in most South Mexico, Central Mexico, and then I live in Oregon, and now in Washington. Yeah.
So what is it that you do? What's your livelihood? How do you earn a living? What's your career been like? How have you gotten this spot?
Well, when I was young, my dad was in the military, and we travel a lot. So I live at different places. My family comes from the Nahuals, and then they're also, a little bit roots of who knows Spaniards and who knows what else. So we travel a lot. Then my mom raised us by herself. But she taught us always to be involved with the community. So I was always doing something with the community. So coming to the States, wasn't new to me about being volunteering and working with communities. So here, I had the privilege to go to college in Mexico, in Colima, Mexico. And then when I came up here, I had the privilege again to go to college in Oregon. I went to Lane Community College, and then I went to Oregon State. And I still have this idea of advocacy and volunteering and doing things for the community. So I've been involved with a lot of different, nonprofit organizations and some activist groups. Not everything kind of centered, nothing too far either direction, not too political either. And so I found myself working for government 8 years ago. So I worked for county, then I worked for the state, and then I worked for a city. And then now I'm working on the nonprofit world, for a nonprofit organization here in Washington.
So what is that organization, and what does it do?
Well, the organization that I'm actually have the pleasure to work for, and I have a great team, is called DPDA, which stands for Downtown Pasco Development Authority. So what the organization does is incredible. That's the reason why I came to Pasco, because the organization is a hybrid model that I have never seen anywhere. And I look for these things sometimes and see what will be my next career move, am I right? This organization runs with federal money, which is a CDBG grant, but also runs with state money through the Main Street program. The interesting thing is that we do have a business incubator model that, maybe many other cities would like to have. In our building, we actually house a 10,000 square feet facility, which is a commercial kitchen, where people who are low, moderate income can actually start their own businesses. We offer them a contract of 3 years, and through development of some of their skills and technical assistance, they will hopefully hire new employees and find their place, hopefully within the Pasco community. And that's how we do economic development through that program. Through the Main Street program, we actually have a farmers market, which is pretty famous here in Pasco, Washington, for many years. And DPDA is the organization that administers that through the Main Street program, which is a grant that we receive from different donors. Anybody can be a donor for that grant. The city buys most of the tax credits, so we do have an agreement with the city. As long as they keep buying some of those tax credits, we hold an agreement in administering the Pasco Farmers Market. And we also in charge of different events that are actually staple for the community, like the Cinco de Mayo Festival and the Ferry Foods Festival. We also have some food trucks around. We do the Food Truck Friday and other smaller events throughout the year, but that's basically the two things. I think the third thing that we're exploring right now, which is interesting, is how do we make a brand or a name for ourselves? So we're trying to focus in something that has never been done before, which is the tourism piece. We're trying to find what DPDA means for the community at large, through not only DPDA, but the PSK, which is a brand under DPDA, and of course the Pasco Farmers Market, which is also a brand under DPDA. And because 53% of the community from Franklin County are Latino, Hispanic, you're talking about a good part of the population. And in Pasco, I don't have the number right now, but I know it's a large also population. And in downtown specifically, 90% of the business owners are Latino or Hispanic, they different backgrounds, different places. So what I'm trying to say is that we're trying to find that spot. And I think the spot that we're looking for and we're aiming for is tourism with the different cultures and backgrounds from the diverse people in this community. And that's what we're aiming for. We're trying to make sure that when people come to the Pasco Farmers Market, they take a little piece of our culture.
So, what would you miss most if you had to leave Pasco tomorrow?
What do I mean? Oh, that's I will probably miss Carla snacks, the food, yeah, or Bini's Bakery or Viera's Bakery or this guy which is La Habana Cafe. I think food. I will miss the food. The cajeta, they have cajeta. I mean, yeah, food definitely.
So, in one or two words, how would you describe the year 2020? And then why did you choose those words?
In 2 words, crazy and insane. Why would I say crazy, even though they're almost the same thing, all right? No, I think insane is before crazy. I think you go, who knows? The thing is, I say crazy and insane because it's been a year of challenges and a lot of nonsense when it comes to what's really happening or how people are reacting to what's really happening. So, yeah. I will probably say nonsense is probably the best word. Nonsense and crazy. I'm 44. I'm gonna turn 45 soon, and I lived through a lot of stuff. As an immigrant, and as a poor kid, as a homeless at times, and different kinds of homelessness. Am I right? But as being challenged, not by my color, not by my skin color. It's not colorism. It's been more like caste system in Mexico and mostly caste system than we have over there. But anyway, and here I've been challenged just for being Latino or Hispanic in some areas, through the systems. But 2020, it's insane because it totally changed the dynamic of who is being oppressed, because suddenly we all being oppressed. And that's what I call it, crazy, insane, because suddenly people who probably have never felt oppressed, they're feeling a little bit of what a lot of the populations, a lot of the minorities, Asians, African Americans, or Black people, Latinos, Native Americans have suffered for many years through different, through the systems, but other aspects of the systems, not so much the health system. Of course, we have our own issues with the health systems, but what I'm saying is this is the first time that you have to do certain things to help others, and that certain thing will make you uncomfortable, and that is insane. It's nonsense in a way, the response from the people, not so much what's going on. What's going on makes sense, but the response of people is what I will call it insane and crazy. Yeah, I never thought I could live these times, yeah.
So describe the moment COVID-19 became real to you, and what were the emotions you were having at that moment?
I think I think was probably March. When it came apparent to me that it wasn't gonna go nowhere. It was in March 2020, and then I realized that either I will take the leadership and stop meeting with people and talk to my team and some of our clients and say this is what's gonna be, because what I saw was the number that it was rising and people getting infected, and then research a little more on how it was an airborne illness, which means it's in the earth rotates every 24 hours. You don't have to go to China to get it. We'll be there tomorrow because we just go around. I mean, the air circulates everywhere. So to think that you had to move from one place to another, you don't have to. The earth moves for us. So when I heard that, it's like, it's time to be close to your loved ones and hope for the best, because my assumption in March was that we all gonna get it. It's just a matter than who is gonna be able to survive it, or at least, to have the less damage to them. Yeah.
So how did your daily life change at first?
You remember the insane part? That's part of my life too. It has nothing to do with others. This is the clothes that I wear. This is the first time I actually have a different set of clothes. For the last 3 or 4 months, I only been wearing 2 sets of clothes. So I go back home, I wash everything, take my shower before I even talk to my kids, anything, like everything wash, my face mask, everything. And I change watches every day, I clean them. I never thought like I could become someone who gets a little bit of, I don't even know how to call that, like, compulsive disorder, some kind of, you have to be doing this pattern every day to somehow don't get infected. But I've been doing that for the last I don't even know where we are. July, Marzo, Abril, Mayo, Junio, Julio, 4 months. This is the first time in 4 months that I changed to a third outfit. I only had 2 and the only reason why I did it is because the pants are really going, I mean, it's just insane. So I wash them every day, like it's the same routine. So that is what's been going on for the last 4 months.
So how do things shift with the business, with the organization? How have you had to adjust? How has it changed there?
We have to adjust because at the beginning of the pandemic, we lost a lot of trust. Not us per se, not as a name. As a name, we're still well known in the community. But I think for the events that we have, we lost sponsorships and some money, some donations that we usually get. So we lost probably around $65,000. And at first it was really hard. And then some of our clients left, the kitchen, and we paid some of the bills thanks to them. So I didn't know what was going to happen. I cut everybody's hours, except mine because I'm still in salary. So there was no way. First I thought I quit. Like at first I thought I just want to quit because I don't think we're going to sustain my salary. Am I right? But then talking to some people on the board, and it was very private. This is the first time I'm talking about, they say, just hang in there and see what will happen. And interesting enough, that was in March, probably April, and probably by May, like in the middle of May, of course, we had the support from the city and there's other funds that we were tackling, am I right? But I think just barely after Cinco de Mayo, after May 5th, we actually received a donation, a grant from the Group Health Foundation for $25,000 to pay for the losses of the event. The only caveat, or the only thing we had to do was to spend 60% of the money and some of the contracts that we were already held in. So that totally helped us out to move forward. And we started creating, once we did that, we started creating how can we bring more money. So we use some of the donations from that money to actually create a campaign awareness that is actually called Ponte la Máscara, put on the mask. So we invite wrestlers, Mexican luchadores wrestlers, to come over here to downtown Pasco and promote it with us. We have t-shirts made. We did an online event, which it was still probably in Facebook. So we did the online event, and then what else we did? We had luchadores in Mexico, made them by hand, and then we have some painted. So we had 3 different types of lucha, face masks resembling the luchadores, and that went for probably a month and a half. We still sell, we don't sell them because we're a nonprofit, but we ask for donations. So we position ourselves as a nonprofit who's asking for money, and that totally help out. We have seen donations in the weekends, $800, $900, $1,000. In this week, we got over 5,000 donations, just because a lot of the community love the idea of keeping the awareness, through the face mask. Then we are able to keep buying more, and we always offer them at no cost if you don't have the money. We've been giving them away since May. But the idea is that we also need to pay for operations. So a large part of the stuff goes at no cost because it's been paid, but a large portion of it comes with the donations, and we're still thriving. Actually, we're probably the best that we ever been. Right now, my team is larger. Yeah, we have Jessica, Rocio, Oscar, Jorge, Carson, and Maria. I mean, and before there was only 3 of us.
So now that we're about 120 days into this, how does daily life feel like for you now?
I'm used to it now. I call it crazy because I was thinking from the beginning, but now is a normal day. It's a normal day, having my face mask. I wash them every day. I wash all my clothes, hanging them, making sure that they dry. Don't put them on the dryer, my friends. Don't put them on the washer. They don't last longer. So, you do it by hand. Anyway, so it's a normal day for me. It's a routine. The same with the car, making sure that I sanitize everything around me, my office. The coworkers are used to bringing their masks. The clients are used to. So it's pretty normal to us right now. It feels normal. Like I don't feel anything. I think the reaction from the people is what's still kind of cumbersome a little bit, but I think has to do, it's normal. It's people that, some of them are being oppressed, for whatever reason, and sometimes they just try to take it out or having some outlet. So sometimes it's interesting the way people react to some of the things that we're doing, but it's just part of the job.
So what's been the biggest challenge for you during this pandemic?
I think the biggest challenge was to believe that, someone with my experience and my formal education can actually navigate it, as an executive director, just because of the lack of funds. That's what I will say, Mm-hmm. At the beginning.
How does it... Water in the wrong pipe. How does it compare to any other big challenges you face in your life? You mentioned you've been through a lot of things in your life. How does it compare to all those?
You know what? It's almost the same. When I remember the first time when my dad left, I was 8 years old, and we had to move to a different city, and we basically were homeless. We were living and jumping at different couches with different family members, and nobody really wanted us. It was horrible, and it's 3 of us. So anyway, at that time was really tough, and I remember thinking that there was no future for me. Am I right? And I was only 8. That was the first time that I thought that life will end really soon. And then, after just enduring life and getting used to the rules and whatever people throws at you, then you kind of get used to it. So when everything becomes the norm. It's so weird. There were certain things that I thought they were like the end of the world, like the places we were like staying and places we were like sleeping on, either the floor or catres, whatever they call those things, whatever was available to us from our family members. Am I right? So, but then when you get used to that, you actually appreciate it. The little things make you more happy. It's so weird, And after that, when I came to the States, I was already 27, and I just got separated, and I had 2 kids, and I came to Oregon because another reason. But the thing is, I encountered myself homeless again after a few months because I couldn't find a job. And the thing is, it was almost the same. I thought I wasn't going to survive, but then, there was a shelter that took my kids and I, and I survived it. After a few months, I got a job, and then, so I think it was the same this time. You remember those times, and you know what happened? You just remember that you're still working to get better at whatever you do. You're still moving forward, and eventually time will tell if you're doing the right thing or not. Yeah.
So, in the Memorial Day week, with the George Floyd incident happening, what was your personal reaction to that incident? But also, how would you describe the Pasco community's reaction to it and what's happened since?
I admire the Pasco community, the reaction, how they went and voiced their concerns, about police brutality and about how this person was basically assassinated in front of everybody's eyes in the middle of the day. I'm proud of the community that I actually live on. I mean, it's awesome that they care about these issues. Personally, they did what I already been saying since I got to this country 16 years ago. I've seen that for me it's been, and even though, like I said, the color of the skin doesn't really define unless you know my name. Sometimes they don't catch it, then I'm Mexican, am I right? But when they see my name and when they hear my accent, sometimes some people, not everyone, but you get this concern. For us, for me as a Latino, it's not so much the police. To a point depends, because sometimes it could be the police, but it's also immigration, because sometimes it's just where were you born and what is your name, and then things happen to people. So that concern was in the back of my mind. Sometimes it's still in the back of my mind, even after so many years in this country. So when it comes to the African American population or the Black community, there's no way I can speak for them. I can only, just kind of trying to understand their history and where they come from and how much they have suffered, and at least be part of the solution, or at least the awareness, so people knows that what was done was wrong. But it's been going on for years and years and years. So part of me is glad that, it's sad that it happened once again, but I think this time around, because whatever reason, because of COVID-19, because many people has nothing to do, I don't know, the people saw it for what it is, for what it was, for what we knew all along has been happening. So, that is the awareness of the institutionalism, the racism that comes with the institutions, and they're being put together a long time ago, and they have not changed, even if they have tried. They change laws, but they don't change institutions per se. They still do some of the old stuff, and And this just proves to you that they still need to work on more stuff to be equitable and really serving the whole community.
So in the challenges you see within your work here in Pasco and the greater community, what excites you about solving them?
Well, for me, I just think that everywhere I have been, there has been different time frames, I guess, in my life, but also different challenges that I've seen that some people has overcome, communities, large communities have overcome. So coming to Pasco and seeing some of the history of Pasco, when it comes to redlining and sundown, the laws that they have and all these things, and it wasn't really that long ago. And seeing how basically the wealth, even though there's been discriminatory acts, towards certain people, the wealth is not that bad spread out. Like there's still a lot of opportunity. There has been opportunity for a lot of people in these areas for whatever reason. So I believe that Pasco, and I said this before from other communities, this is not the first time you hear me saying this, I think Pasco is a great model for the future, but they still need to find each other. What I'm saying is, the different people in this community, they still had to find each other as we are one, because it's not the same to say it than to do it, and that's the thing. But the interesting thing is Pasco has everything. They're living in the future, but they don't know it yet. Why would I say that? Because the demographics are switching and changing drastically everywhere. And Pasco is already there, so it's like, if you're already there, why don't you just look around and say, this is our culture, and embrace it, instead of keep saying, don't go to this place, don't go to that place, this place is this place is that. Well, that place is Pasco, you are Pasco, so let's just embrace it, because it's not going to change. Nobody's going anywhere. So that is my perception.
So what one or two words would you use to describe how you feel about the next 5 years?
I still feel optimistic. And it took me a little bit to say that, but I've been in tougher situations. So very optimistic. And I'm going to tell you why I'm very optimistic, because even though I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I'm optimistic. No easy, because there's a lot of challenges, specifically economic challenges, probably for everyone in this community and probably in the whole world. Am I right? But optimistic, because if you look at the foundation of this country and our wonderful roads and the spaces that we live in and the quality of life that we have with all this privilege, especially if you have traveled other countries, you'll know that, I don't know, I mean, I've been in few countries, but I haven't seen anyone in the countries that I've been that has the infrastructure that we possess, or the space that we enjoy through our near environment. So I don't think a system or a country, the way we have it, when it comes to the infrastructure, it will fall that easy. Like, that's what I'm still optimistic. And I've seen so many changes through my life that I think the next 5 years are gonna be great. It's just gonna define who we are in reality, because I think our characters are formed since we're younger, but a lot of times when life somehow is comfortable, and I'm not saying just for me, I think all of us, like if it gets comfortable, you get to that point where it's a normal life, and then when change happens, because it will always happen, then you have that reaction. But in my case, I'm always aware of change, and I look for change. I thrive in challenges and change. My life is a testimony of that, and I know I'm not self-made. It's because the opportunities are there, and I'm just somehow been taking advantage of some of the opportunities have been given to me by others. Am I right? I haven't done it by myself. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm looking forward for the next 5 years if I'm still alive. It's just health-wise. But if I'm still healthy, I see a great future for me, but I also see a great future for the community.
So how have you had to shift your main programs? The farmers market, what changes did you make there, and what's the new things you've been doing to help educate people?
The programs totally change. The farmers market, by example, we losing revenue every Saturday, because the spaces that we're using now, they have to be separated, and there's only certain things that we can sell at the market, so we don't have all the vendors. We have a lot less, we're using all the space, but a lot less program income. So we have to make some changes also when it comes to the health guidelines. So the money that we have to put into the, basically, the washing stations and the signs. But I can tell you that I think Oscar, which is our manager, has done a really good job into implementing all the guidelines and all the structure for the farmers market. It looks different, it feels different, but I think anything to get out of the house now, even if you have to follow the guidelines, it's a good thing. So people are still enjoying it. It might not have the flavor as before, but I can tell you what the positive thing is. Before the COVID-19, most of us were in our phones. Now we're actually looking at each other, even though we have face masks. So what I see now is people really caring about other people through at the events or through the farmers market. They're not really in their phones anymore. So that tells you, so it really changed. So the message that we're giving now, before was more through social media, and it was more about who we are. We started a little blog, and we have a little constant contact email list, and then we had the Conectando Pasco connection. It was a little video done through our volunteers. So, and then we were trying to go as I had a program coordinator who was going to events and talking about what DPDA was and what DPDA did. But because of COVID-19, we're not going to events, and we don't have volunteers. Well, we have a couple, but we lost the volunteers. So now what we've been doing, it's basically utilizing radio a lot more and TV a lot more. Very small spots, 30 seconds, 60 seconds. So, and we're changing, adapting to what the needs of the community are. So we started with the face mask. We still actually having face masks. Then we also have signs for businesses, and we offer them at no cost or a donation, because we always take donations. So that's the changes. I think the way we're communicating. Right now we're speaking this morning about creating our own, either podcast channel or something where we can actually communicate straight to the community. But I think that will be the future for us. Having these virtual events, because we're still gonna have events, follow the guidelines, the healthy guidelines, but also having a channel that we can communicate straight with the people. Because what we found out is that some of the media here, and I'm not saying all of them, but some of the media here in Pasco, because of whatever reason, they have their own perspective and their own biases. We all have biases, am I right? But when you have power on a media and you put it on paper, it doesn't look good. So a lot of times it doesn't benefit the community as a whole. Do you remember how I was talking about finding that identity? Well, some of the media outlets here do not allow you to find that identity because they don't see our similarities. They actually do the opposite. They see our differences and they target those differences. So DPDA has to be neutral, of course, because we use federal money and state money, but at the same time, it can still be vocal for the people that we serve, which is the migrant population. And the thing about this is even the migrant population don't even know how much good DPDA is for them because they haven't seen it yet and they don't quite understand it. So, it is our job to show them through time, some of the benefits we're trying to do for the greater Tri-Cities and for the whole Pasco, because it's not about one person or two, it's about everyone together. So I think that's the biggest challenge, when it comes to what will be our message from now on. And we're gonna keep going with that message of unity and, but very heavily between the Latinx community and Hispanic community. A large population is Mexican. The Mexican community towards, what is Pasco, what's Tri-Cities, that amalgamation, I guess, through time with the Anglo community and the Native community that was here before us and the Black community. So I think we have a little bit of everything, but I think a lot of them, they just haven't enjoyed it or haven't seen it. So part of our job is to put them all together someplace. And I mean, what better than the Pasco Farmers Market or some of the other events that we have. So you'll see those changes, and that's been our message since we got here. A lot of people hasn't been exposed to them, but they'll see it. It's just gonna come very firm and strong as long as my board, wants it to be that way.
Excellent. Is there a question I should have asked or a topic I should have surfaced that you want to talk about before I get to my last question?
Well, I think that's my staple. We're trying to create a mascot, from DPA, because we don't have one. And every time I look out, we have a gaviotas, seagulls. So you'll see in some of our stuff that is coming up, we're using some seagulls. There's some stuff coming up, and we draw some seagulls the other day with our graphic design. He's great. Luis is great, graphic designer. So you'll see some of that stuff coming soon. We're working in a TriCity board game, landmarks and things that people can go visit. They don't have to go anywhere. They just have to travel TriCities, and we included kind of with obviously Richland and Pasco. I drove around and I got a video film. I sent it to someone who can create this game in Mexico, and they did a beautiful. I took a bunch of pictures. They draw them, so you'll see it probably coming in September, and it's called. It is called Going Around Tri-Cities. Yeah, and then we're working on a memorama game, a memory game also. Then they will talk about the little different places in Tri-Cities that you can visit. The idea is that first people can actually have it at home, but the idea is that we're still going to identify with one unity, like I said before, at least through that. And people can take souvenirs when they come to Pasco. Like, you're here today, you should take one of the stuff that we have and take it as a souvenir, because we're here. And that's all.
So the last question I ask you is, this is going to be posted up to the internet. People are going to find it. We don't know where they're going to watch it, how they're going to watch it, when they're going to watch it. Might be right away, it might be years from now. So you have a chance to kind of put a message.
Perfect.
To whoever's watching this, just a message to give to them. What would that message be?
I will tell you that Pasco is the future, because Pasco already attained a high level of Latino community in a short time, like other cities, like other cities in Oregon, other cities, close to the border. But the difference between Pasco and other cities, if you come and visit Pasco, you immerse yourself within the culture in downtown, which we are standing right there, and the history of this town, and how it emerged from oppression and the systems kind of working against this population of East Pasco to what it is today, which is still a beautiful city and a very predominant Latino but very vibrant economic community. You will find things that you will not find anywhere unless you go close to the border. We are probably the epicenter for quinceañeras or like Mexican weddings. You'll find beautiful furniture. A lot of them is imported from Mexico. Beautiful furniture, pieces of art, jewelry, clothing. Some of the best food. Not only Mexican food but also Latin American food, and we have actually Cuban food. So I mean, if we talk about gastronomic, we have beanies. So we talk about gastronomic. Vieras has probably the best alfajores peruanos. Peruvian alfajores that you will ever probably find in probably the whole Northwest. So I mean, like I said, that's for people who are watching this. If you come to Tri-Cities, it's not only, if you look for us, you'll find that they're good for the winery, the rivers and all these parks and outside sports and all these things. However, they're actually pretty big when it comes to the food, the gastronomy for the Latino, the Hispanics, community. And also when it comes, to the not only the food but also the wear, like how do you call that, the formal wear, for the norteño dances or for the tierra caliente dances. So you will find really expensive hats, like the real deal hats, the real deal belts, nice pants, nice jackets, like everything you need to actually go to those dances. So it's incredible. You go to a Mexican wedding, you'll find everything here. So you don't have to travel far. If you come to Pasco, if you come to Tri-Cities or this area, you have to come to Pasco and try out some of the stuff that we have here. It's unique.
And then I'll ask a bonus question, because of everything you've been through in your life, what message would you want to impart in terms of what you've learned through your life experiences that could help someone who's dealing with the pandemic right now?
Well, I can tell you that for whatever you're dealing with, the pandemic is one thing, but anything that is a challenge to anyone, we all have endured different challenges in life. And what I can tell you is, this has already been said many times before, am I right? What it doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But I can assure you like once, you know, somebody told me before, and I think this is very. I actually read it, and I you know, the guy's name escapes my brain for some reason, but there was a slave years ago, an African American male. That actually wrote a piece, and he says that everybody wants the crops, but nobody wants the storm. You know, and I think, and of course I'm paraphrasing, am I right? Because it's a poem that he wrote, it was beautiful. But what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm paraphrasing because we all want the good things, but we don't want to pay the price for them. And I think everything comes at a price. So whatever, you know, you don't have a really sunny and beautiful day if you don't have a rain, you know, before to clean everything. So I think we right now, and you know, the same with the crops, you don't have the crops unless you water them, and you know, and you almost drown them. And so anyway, and there had to be storms for that. So right now I think we're going through a storm, but I've been to many storms, and so there's probably many people who are seeing or watching this. So I think it's just one of those storms. We just have to hopefully survive it, endure it and survive it. And after that, we'll probably see the light again.